You are listening to the CADDle Call podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentech Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The CADDle Call podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the CADDle Call podcast with Jim and Rocco from Zentech Consultants. I am Jim, your happy and fun host, and with me, as always, is my partner.
Wait a minute, this is Rocco, but who said you're fun? I mean, you might be happy, but...
Hey, I'm the fun and happy... You know why? I can prove that I'm the fun, happy guy because I get to tell the most important part of the show, which is the engineering joke of the week. See, that's what makes me fun and happy, Rocco. You ready for this one?
No,
but you're gonna get it anyway. So here, I did this one for you, Rocco, because I know that you always watch the Blue Comedy Tour, right? With Jeff Foxworthy. I know you like that stuff, right? So today I'm gonna give you my best Jeff Foxworthy impression too. So all right, what's the Jeff Foxworthy definition of an engineer? You might be an engineer if you destroy things just to see how they work. So there you go. That is my best Jeff Foxworthy. Terrible impression, but we figured we'd give it a shot anyway. So there's your engineering joke of the week. All right, folks, so enough of that. So an old friend of the show is back with us on today's podcast, Ramesh Sridharan, whose name I always butcher. I'm so sorry, Ramesh. He's a product manager for the Autodesk Infrastructure team. And he's back with us once again to talk about all the cool new features of InfraWorks and ReCap. So Ramesh, thank you so much for being here with us again, my friend.
Absolutely, man. And by the way, you're getting closer and closer on my last name every call.
Every time. So eventually I'll get it to something that isn't a complete mutilation. Oh, goodness. All right, folks. So as I always do, I like to let our guests give a little bit of a background on themselves so that everybody can get to see the epic levels of Ramesh's genius here. So Ramesh, give our listeners a little bit of background on how you made it to the such lofty heights over there at Autodesk.
Oh, it's not that hard. You just have to find that secret elevator between the pillars like an Harry Potter. You just have to believe in yourself, go bang on it. You'll be right there.
It's like Hogwarts, platform 11 3/4. Just run at the wall. You'll be fine. And next thing you know, you'll be CEO of Autodesk. I got it.
So my background was, and I think I probably mentioned this in previous podcast, maybe. My background was in electronics, communication, computer engineering, major in machine learning, image processing, things like that. So my first job, I got introduced to civil engineering and point clouds. That kind of molded me as a part of a startup that got acquired by Autodesk. And within Autodesk, I did multiple things, different responsibilities, enough to make me come out of comfort zone, but not big enough to put me in a risk. But that paid off pretty well. So that helped me to work as a product manager position here, working with the great folks like Tim and Dave, others coming about this podcast as well. That's how it went.
There you go. Nice. All right. Okay, folks. So release 2023.1. It just dropped like a week or two back. And Ramesh is kind of here today to talk with us about all the hot new features that he's unleashed onto the design world. And we're going to focus on InfraWorks and ReCap today, right? Both of which fall under Ramesh's purview. And I want to start the first half of today's podcast focusing on InfraWorks, mainly because I think it's the system that brings folks that the biggest wow factor, right? And I find that it has been developing more and more as a design tool, and it's not just the presentation tool that a lot of us still tend to think of it as. Though look, it does an amazing job on the presentations as well. But Ramesh, what can customers expect to see in this latest update on the InfraWorks side?
Absolutely. So you're right, Jim. The InfraWorks does generate lots of wow factor. You mentioned right. It is designed for the preliminary and conceptual design, helping users to put together infrastructure projects and its vision to represent visually. When you see something, it's easy to think and modify and all those stuff. That's exactly what InfraWorks is for. And it does a great aggregation stuff. I think we talked about this in the past as well, how it brings in Civil 3D drawing, Revit model, all those stuff, even the GIS, S3 GIS for existing condition, point clouds, and so on. So users using it for preliminary design really love it, requested great features, great feedbacks. But those who are pushing the limits towards detailed design, for example, bridge design in InfraWorks is one of those kind of fall in between preliminary design and the detailed design. And so some of the features we're working on being released is helping those precision and the details the users are asking for. For example, this release, we had something called clipping planes. It's basically a feature that allows user kind of do a cross section, clip away the geometry of bridges and tunnels in order to better see and design various parts and basically better understand the cross section at that point on your structure. And this has been asked for customers for quite some time, but people always think it as a cross-section view, like a profile view, like what people used in a CAD environment. But this one is really cool. You got to see it. It's a nice 3D cross-section way of looking at it. You can use your mouse to move back and forth. You can actually see real time. It updates the cross-section and see what's inside, like a behind-the-screen sort of thing. That's one of the cool features we just released in InfraWorks 23.1. The other one, a lot of people ask for, especially those who use our AEC collection, is a Revit family-based parametric components because previously we were supporting inventory part, but a lot of people use Revit as well. So because this comes with the collections, so now the Revit family-based stuff can come into InfraWorks as a custom parametric content, and you can go play ball with it. It says all those stuff. Those are the cool came up, yeah.
No, that's great. I do like the real-time capability of the cutting plane where you can just slide it back and forth to different areas without having to generate full other printed sections on your screen and so on. It's great, like you said, in that real-time view. It's amazing.
Even if you're not doing any work, it's just fun to play with it when you have some time.
Yeah, it really is. Definitely. At least to entertain yourself during the workday. That always helps. Yeah. So like I said earlier, right? One of the things that really continues to impress me about InfraWorks is that Ramesh's group hasn't just left it as a really, really amazing presentation tool. They've been working on every release to ensure that it's a viable design tool as well, right? That can talk to and integrate with systems like Civil 3D and other infrastructure related systems and Revit, like Ramesh was just saying. And I really am. I'm amazed at how well you can integrate real world graphics and maps and finished products into the design world instead of I guess we'll call it the old silo approach of, you had your drawing files for construction and then you had presentation files like InfraWorks for, wowing the customers, and they blended these together. And I think that's really amazing. So, Ramesh, how does this latest update, how does it kind of further the design capabilities on the InfraWorks side?
Absolutely. So you're right. The InfraWorks started and it's act as a preliminary design, conceptual design product. And you're right. The Civil 3D is a detailed design product. And the key thing is the two has a different customer base, right? Different people use for different personas. We want to make sure we provide enough controls and tools to let users do their conceptual preliminary design in InfraWorks and make sure that data flows easily towards the detailed design so that they don't have to redo their stuff. They can continue doing their thing. So that's but you have to find that soft spot, right? It's like saying, I see something on the visualization, I want to touch it, I want to start editing it. Usually visualization does a different kind of optimization than the detailed design. So behind the screens, a lot of things happen. But if you look from customer perspective, I'm seeing it, I want to edit it, bring me to the design part. So that's a trick. We need to balance it out. Sometimes with the customers, the moving target, especially product like InfraWorks and Civil 3D, that spans over half a decade or a decade. Technology changes, right? So a lot of things changes as well. So recently, we've been adding a lot of those capabilities. So like I mentioned, the previous one, the feature of the clipping plane, it's kind of like it's a dedicated tool in InfraWorks, but it's alignment aware, like our team calls it. It's like dynamic clipping plane works with the Civil 3D alignment. You bring into InfraWorks from Civil 3D so that you kind of use your design aspect along with your 3D visualization aspect as well. Makes it coexist perfectly fine. And whatever you're doing it, you can take it to Civil 3D as well. This allows user to add multiple clipping planes along bridges and tunnels, all those things, kind of moving towards the design aspect as well on that one. And also even the Revit family one, that's another brilliant tool team added, because when it becomes a parametric component, now it can go into multiple products. Now we're talking core designers working on the Revit, as well as you can take those models into Civil 3D. So now the designers can actually play with it and kind of see them in the 3D real world in context way in InfraWorks. It's kind of mashing all those products together. It works like a nice gel between them, but at the same time, each has its own pros to work on that also. So that's kind of direction we're going with it.
Yeah, I think you guys are doing a really good job with that. So, all right, Rocco, let me ask you then. Right? We have it just seems like we've been doing a lot of presentations and training around InfraWorks recently here at Zentech. Are people, showing serious interest in using InfraWorks as part of their design process, or do a lot of these people still need convincing that it's more than just, the presentation software it used to be?
Yeah, we are starting to see folks using it in design. I mean, not so much with the smaller firms, but with the larger firms, even state and local governments are using it. So it's really interesting to see that. And so of course we do training. We recently did a webinar on InfraWorks that Cindy on our team gave, and it was very, very well attended. So there's a lot of interest in this product.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a huge bump in the interest levels for it. So, I think it's vital, right, for all of us in the design world to constantly go back and revisit software and systems that we've either, overlooked or maybe even dismissed in the past. Developers like Ramesh and his team, they're always listening to customer feedback and recommendations, to find and add new capabilities to their software. And InfraWorks has always impressed everybody who's ever seen it. But, in its infancy, it was, like Ramesh said, it was a conceptual layout tool with limited functionality to take those concepts and promote them up to full-scale designs. And I think if that's, if you're listening and that's still kind of your impression of InfraWorks, then I really suggest that it is time for you to go back and take another look at what Ramesh and his team have done here. So, Ramesh, if there's one feature in InfraWorks that you think should drive people to upgrade to or to implement, right, this latest release, what would that be?
It's like asking your favorite kid. Pick your favorite kid. You're getting me in trouble, man.
There you go.
Well, it is tough because every feature we're adding is kind of like, like I was talking to a team yesterday, that we're hand sculpting to the product. It's from the customer feedback. It really solves the problem the customers are facing. Like especially in the latest releases, if you justify this year, the 23.0 as well, if we talk about it, there's InfraWorks towards a design, towards the next level of structural bridge design aspect that came up on that release. The parametric contents, we add more contents on top of the Revit families we added recently. So at the same time, actually, you mentioned very nicely when you're introducing this question, where when you add these features, it's very easy to get bogged down, keep adding and adding and adding. After years, you end up seeing too many tool buttons and stuff. Mm-hmm. It becomes too complex for user to use things. It's kind of a natural once you keep adding it. So we want to balance it out, and we added something called command search earlier this year. So user, if you don't know what you're looking for, just type it in, and it actually tells you these are all the commands for your thing. You can pick what you want. You don't even have to go to the toolbar and kind of fish through that. So that was kind of a great tool as well. So a lot of things to pick, but I would stick with my clipping plane one because that's really nice, 3D cross section. But I don't know why. Every time I think of it, even when I'm talking now, I always think when you look at the medical thing, when you look at the MRIs, you can move your like a plane back and forth. You see it before and things like that. I don't know why that image comes to my mind, but this one like that, the 3D model where you can look at it. So I would say maybe I have to pick that one this time.
Yeah. Nice. I like that. Like I said, I'm impressed as all get out with that tool. So I kind of agree with you there. I think it's amazing. All right, folks. So we're going to take a quick break here to let our sponsor for today's show get a word in. But when we get back, I want to get into another one of Ramesh's pet tools, right? We're going to come back. We're going to talk about ReCap. So stand by, folks. We'll be back in just a minute with more of the CADDle Call podcast. Hey everybody, this is Jim and Rocco with Zentech Consultants, and we wanted to talk to you a little bit today about the training options that we have available here for you guys at Zentech Consultants. We offer public training classes as well as private custom courses for all of your software and design needs. So, Rocco, why don't you tell the folks what kind of training we offer and how do they reach out to us to get it going for them?
Yeah, Jim, we cover everything from Bluebeam to Autodesk to Microsoft to BricsCAD to civil site design training and beginner through to advanced level topics. Like you said, both public and private courses. If you got a group and want to run a class specifically for your team, we can help you. So just feel free to hit our website. We're at zentechconsultants.net. That's ZENTEK, or you can give us a ring, 866-824-4459, or even drop us an email, sales@zentechconsultants.net.
There you go, Zentech Consultants for all of your technology training need. All right, everybody, welcome back to the CADDle Call podcast. We're talking with Ramesh Sridharan of Autodesk, still butchering his name, about the new drops of InfraWorks and ReCap. And in this half of the show, I want to focus on ReCap and how it's becoming more and more integrated into everyday design processes in the infrastructure space, and even beyond that. So Ramesh, what are the key upgrades that you put out in this release of ReCap?
Absolutely. By the way, I think you got my last name well this time.
Did I really?
Yeah, you did.
It'll never happen again.
Today is the day, huh? Cool. Alrighty, guys. So the ReCap part. Oh yeah. So this release packed with a bunch of features. Actually, you mentioned nicely that it is getting integrated into everyday design process. When you talk to customers, I'm sure all your audience are smart and they work on the engineering process. Everyone uses point clouds one way or the other in their project, either before, during, after, checking assets, whatnot. So what the approach we are taking is make it more useful for the user, kind of mask all the hard stuff behind the screen so user don't have to worry about it. So this release, we added something called automatic classification, which is basically the fancy way of saying it, that is that you bring in the point cloud data and there's a button, you can choose few options, but what it does is it kind of separates the noises and separates the surface so that you can focus on what you want and take that into your design environment. In this case, if you want to take it to Civil 3D, the surface is already there. You can take it and create your contours and move on with it. Or if you want to take it to Revit, the same workflow. Site design, same workflow, you can do that. And the cool aspect of this is you don't have to classify all point cloud every time. Sometimes the users have their own county-wide point clouds available, which is already classified. That's the vegetation, the buildings, and the trees. Sorry, that's the vegetation. And the ground, those are already there. With this tool, now you can save only the ground points if you want from the ReCap. So your downstream workflow just uses what you want and get your job done. So we made in this year, use any type of point cloud data in their design. That's kind of the key upgrade for this release.
Yeah, and that's a big thing, man. You know how many hours we used to have to spend trying to sort out the noise from what was underneath and what was interfering, and trying to group things together. Yeah, that's a huge bump. All right, so AU, Autodesk University, right? That was just about a month or so back, and there was a huge focus there by senior Autodesk management, we'll call them, on cloud-based viewing and file management and sharing, right? And I think everyone realizes that the cloud is finally coming fully into the promise that it held out, back when it first hit the scene like a decade or more ago. And we're all, I think, at the space where we know that everything needs to be and to live and to be accessible or workable from the cloud. We're a distributed workforce in a very fast-paced and moving world, and we need 24/7 access to all of our tools from wherever we happen to be. Ramesh, we talked about ReCap and its cloud capabilities the last time that you were on the show. What have you guys done to kind of enhance the cloud viewing capabilities in this latest release?
Absolutely. So you're right. The cloud-based workflow is definitely getting more importance nowadays, especially for the point cloud data. It was kind of like a wish list for the customers because it's a huge data set. People literally sitting on top of hard drives and mailing really. So that was a big thing. But of course, during the pandemic and after now the post-pandemic also, people used to share everything over cloud and they use those things. So now that workflows are getting more importance. Now when you ask them to load the point cloud data with a hard drive, it's kind of going to look back way back school, like having a tape recorder to watch your movies, the VCR and CDs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, the cloud viewing capabilities are really picking up, and I'm really glad. Earlier this year, like I mentioned, we actually had the cloud viewing, and we actually enhanced it with a large data set. When I say large, I really mean it. About terabyte. The last thing we tested about 1.5 terabyte of data, about 400, 500 kilometers of railroad data. I can open it. I can just cruise through it, zoom one place to another. It all streams very nice I can do that from it's a browser based, right? So I can actually do it even from my iPad Pro, like a Surface or the Chrome browsers. I can actually do that part. So making that kind of accessibility of the data is one of the key thing, fundamental thing. That's what we accomplished before, and we made it better in this release. On top of that, we added some better mesh generation capability. And for those folks, I don't want to go too technical here, but for those who use our BIM 360 and ACC viewer, we have something called model coordination, which is kind of a great tool. Jim, you'll appreciate it, because when you have like a point cloud, the InfraWorks model, and the Revit model, the model coordination helps you put all those things together in the cloud, visualize one on top of each other, and check it out. What's there. Nice. Are you doing the right thing the right way? Exactly, yeah. And now point clouds can be part of it. And right now we're handling as a mesh-based point clouds, but we're also working on showing the point cloud itself directly on the model coordination to make it better. And we also added some better visualization modes. Sometimes when you look at the point cloud, just a shade of black to white, just a gray, it can end up getting boring, especially in long data sets. Now we add a different visualization by color mode and the normals and things like that, making it easier for stakeholder engagement. People like to have fun too, and when you see it, so we added that. Yeah.
Nice. Now it really is. That's very cool. I mean, the idea, like I spent early on with a lot of time with ReCap and point cloud data, and like I said, sitting on the hard drives and driving an hour and a half back to the office to deliver massive hard drives because you couldn't touch it. And the idea that you can take that much data and run it through an iPad and a browser is staggering. And what a paradigm shift in what we're dealing with there. That's so cool. So, look, a big part of dealing with any point cloud or reality capture tool is, that it needs to be able to integrate, right, into the other infrastructure tools that we're all working with, right? Civil 3D and InfraWorks, et cetera. The point clouds are brilliant for detailing existing conditions on a design, but a native point dump of 50 billion points into a Civil 3D drawing is going to kill your system, and it's going to make everybody unhappy. And in tools like ReCap that are designed, like Ramesh was saying, right, to streamline, optimize, and work with those larger data sets and parse them down into something more workable within your design, I think are really vital to all of us making use of this, the scan survey data on every job. So, Ramesh, how do the new ReCap updates integrate with the other infrastructure products from Autodesk?
Absolutely. You're right. The ReCap, reality capture basically is one of those things where it's a means to an end. You use the point cloud data, existing conditions to accomplish something. This just it paves the way. In this example, the ReCap is the means. Infrastructure products like Revit and Civil 3D and other things are the end. That's where our engineers or designers are working on. So we understand that. So visualization is the first step, one aspect of it. You're not going to sit and look at point cloud all day, right? That's not the job. So,
Be nice if someone paid us to do that. They can be very cool.
Yeah. So that's where the reality capture workflows are going. How we can cloud-based stuff, how a user can use it, and then start providing what is needed for their engineering stuff. Like for example, I always tell this to my team also. Is if I'm a guy working on a hardware and I ask for a screwdriver, if you just throw me a bunch of iron pieces and say, "Well, make your own screwdriver," it's all there. Then I have to build stuff. That's not what I asked for. I want the screwdriver to tighten things. So point cloud is exactly like that. If I'm a civil engineer working in Civil 3D, if I throw at them, like you mentioned, like a 50 billion points, what the hell I'm going to do with it? I mean, I have stuff to do. I need to extract information off of it, things like that. So that is the fundamental thing. We are actually bringing it, and now we're doing it through the cloud aspect. We had some desktop workflows before, but we are streamlining it, making like cloud workflow like a first step. Like I mentioned, now you can extract the ground, just send the ground only to civil engineers. So now I'm working on a site design. Somebody collected the drone. I know it's a great drone data, great images. Give me the surface, I can put it on top of things and I can check with it and start working with it. So now I give them the surface point, they just triangulate it, voila, they have the surface to work on. In a matter of minutes, they can get going with the point cloud data. That kind of a simplicity, I know maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but you get the idea. To do that, and that's what we are trying to do. And the workflow is for all users. We also understand point cloud is not only for the engineers and designers. I know I'm pointing out that more often here, but it helps on the Revit piece, the building renovation workflow, the civil engineering aspect. So we are catering those needs as well. That's how it integrates today, the workflows we release, and even the things team is working on, and the future releases also, it kind of going for that direction. Bottom line, making the users life as simple as possible, because we are a user in one way, so I'm a lazy guy, I want to think of simple stuff, so that's what I want customer to enjoy as well.
There you go. Give us all the big red easy button and we're all set. So all right, so I think that's a great point, right? And I think it ties in, Rocco, this question for you, right? How important is this point cloud editing and accessibility functionality to our user base, right? Is this something that you get asked about a lot?
I think that it is important to folks, but it's not an area that here at Zentek that we honestly spend a lot of time in yet. And so I don't get asked about it, but I know it's an area that folks follow. I mean, this is really cool stuff. It's very impressive technology, and obviously Autodesk isn't the only company that's involved in handling point clouds and this kind of work, but it's not something we get heavy into here, and I guess it's something that we should definitely look into more, Jim, and see where we can help folks out.
And I think part of it is what we're doing here on the show, which is just making people aware of it and think it through. That it like we're saying, it's beyond where it was, and that it does integrate into all your designs and not just for Civil 3D. It ties in through Revit and every other thing. So yeah, I think it's important to bring this awareness out to folks. Look, one of the things that I guess fascinates me about reality capture and point clouds is that potential that it has in every space, right? Like I said, it's not just with infrastructure like we've been talking about, but through architecture and for digital twins, and even moving on to film and movies and animation and game design and manufacturing. The methodology of scanning real world locations and objects and then integrating them into the digital planescape, I guess, it's simply just amazing to me, right? And this is something that runs, like I said, the gamut from, video games to advanced mining processes and everything in between, whatever you can imagine. So, Ramesh, what are areas beyond infrastructure do you see ReCap kind of playing heavily in both today, and where do you see it kind of coming into its own in the near future?
Absolutely. So you're right. Actually, it's funny when you start asking about it. When you mentioned game design, that kind of triggered a memory in my. I did 10 years, maybe even more than that, 12, 13 years back. Before joining Autodesk, I was working for a company. They were actually building a similar, what do they call it, like a bicycle or bike ride that goes up and down. I don't know, motor vehicle or something.
Okay.
Yeah, so instead of they were having a hard time creating a simulated one, they thought it's easy to just go and collect the LiDAR data, point cloud data, the real world, and create a surface of it, use it in the game. That was much easier for them to do it, and actually help them do that texture and all those things with the surface. But it's funny, I don't know why a lot of games doesn't use it nowadays. But now it is picking up. If you come to AU, when you look at a lot of booths, actually a lot of companies are using the reality capture, the meshes, and those things for the AR, VR kind of applications. That's where some of those, the scan to mesh and scan to beam algorithms we're working on come real handy. But answering your question, you're right. The reality capture is using everywhere. It's funny. I was talking to one of our team members, actually one of the customers. He mentioned to me that ReCap is actually probably one of the or the only product in Autodesk present in every single collections. Like we have AAC collections, media and entertainment collections, like manufacturing. ReCap is there in all of them. So it clearly shows that every industry needs and wants a reality capture. It's just a matter of how they use it. It keeps changing based on the technology. But now with the ability they can churn a lot of points and the ability to create the mesh and then the realistic textures you can put, those applications on the media and entertainment is also coming up. And I've been talking to a lot of the people on the manufacturing side, especially on the transmission towers, the electrical customers. They use much on the manufacturing side as well, the reality capture. So applications are getting more and more. And that is something you can expect too. More the software develops, more they can have hands-on, trying to easy to use the data, then it's kind of like how the evolution finds its own way to grow, right? Similarly, the customer finds its own way to grow. The business starts booming for the customers. So we need to provide a foundation platform. That's exactly what we're doing right now.
Nice. All right. So kind of the last question, all right, we're going to get into with Ramesh today is what I always give all of our guests, right? It's to tell us something that I didn't think to ask about. So Ramesh, right? What else do you think our listeners should know about either, ReCap or InfraWorks, whichever one you like, that I forgot to ask you today?
Well, maybe one thing I can say is, these are one of those products where when I think you mentioned that even in the beginning of our podcast as well, is one of those products when it starts with a small objective with a different messaging, but once it grows and once it finds its position among the industry from the customers, then it kind of does way more than that or different stuff. But sometimes customers' perception still in the past. Like for example, InfraWorks started as a preliminary design, conceptual design. Most of the tools today are doing that. We are enabling the detailed design aspect towards the Civil 3D and Revit. We are trying to make the data flow smoother, like we talked about. But some customers still think that, well, InfraWorks is supposed to be a detailed design. I will wait till it gets better. It gets to that stage. But that's not the point. The point is that InfraWorks will enable you to do it, and it's a preliminary software and hand in hand with the Civil 3D works. So it forms as a combination of powerful weapon in your arsenal. And I just want customers to understand. I'm sure they already do, but some people who did not follow on that part, I would like to basically bang that point one more time, so that I don't want them to miss out what InfraWorks has to offer today, just waiting for something for the future. You participate today, you're actually scoping the future right now. So that's one of the key things we work with our customers. And the same thing for ReCap too. So many times when we talk, even today, I'm glad you asked the question before this about where else apart from infrastructure, ReCap is used. Because every time I talk about the point clouds, people always look at it as a top-down images, satellite images where you can see it in 3D, like an infrastructure, the large area. Those are the main things people always take away from it. But that's just the beginning of it. Now the ReCap also grown more than the indoors and registrations and stuff, like exactly we talked about, the cloud-based workflows, making it easy for infrastructure, the manufacturing, the building renovations, etc. So I just want people to have that thinking cap on it. Instead of saying that these are the tools you can use in your current workflow, I want them to think like these are the tools now available. We are doing more on that. Where else you can actually use it to enhance your business, and how Autodesk can help doing that part, both for the ReCap and InfraWorks for that matter. So I would like to make that point if possible.
Nice. That works. There you go. All right, folks. So we're going to wrap it up there. But as always, I do want to thank Ramesh for taking time out of his busy day to be here with us and keep us entertained. It is always a pleasure to have you on the show, sir. Thank you so much, Ramesh.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you.
All right. All right, folks, we're going to get out of here, and we will catch you next time on the CADDle Call podcast. All right, everybody. Today's CADDle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentech Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentech strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentech?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentechconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentechconsultants.net, or you can even call us 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from you all.